What's going on, everyone? Dave here. Wanted to talk about a handful of tips that have helped me out during my sales career. Stuff I wish I would have known earlier. And honestly, it comes with engaging with experts throughout the industry. I've had the opportunity just through my podcast to really interview some high-level people from CEOs of large corporations to small machine shop owners and even high-level engineers. And throughout that, I've learned there's a handful of things that are really can help set you up for success. One thing is always lead with sincerity. I believe Jim Rohn has said this countless times. I'm almost positive I got it from there. But to me, that's something that is incredibly important, right? If you lead with sincerity, I feel like things start to fall in place, right? So the buyers will begin to trust you. And there's a Harvard study that came out that talked about the buyers will actually believe sincerity will double the buyer's engagement in your show. It shows that you're there to help, not just to close a deal, right? Serving before you sell. That is definitely a huge one. But I think it's important to note that with sincerity, you build that trust, and you're not able to really sell until you have the trust. So incredibly important to build that up first. Focus on solving problems, right? Ask a lot of very detailed technical questions or detailed questions because you're not technical. Figure out what problem they're having. If you can't solve it directly, but you have team members who can, you should definitely do that. And that goes back to sincerity. If you can't solve it, let them know. Hey, I don't think I can solve this. I've solved something similar. Can I pull in the team to identify whether or not we can help solve this? There was a Gardner post that there was also a study talking about how most B2B buyers are facing some sort of complex decision. So it's our job as salespeople to be the detectives, to figure out what. And sometimes you'll just have people come to you and say, hey, I have a chip conveyor that's broken. I need it replaced. The belt snapped, whatever the case may be. Figure those things out. One thing that I'm really trying to work on is to be able to tell stories. How do we tell stories? Well, it starts with reading stories. And I think it starts with being able to pull facts from your own understanding. People start to remember stories much easier than just a bunch of random features. So figure out how to weave it in. Maybe that's using ChatGPT or just going back to the basics and writing stuff out and trying to figure out how to memorize it. I think that would be helpful. People are going to remember the emotions and not the features. So try to evoke some emotions during that. And that could be challenging depending on the product, right? Like you're selling a vehicle. I feel like that's a lot easier to sell. Like, oh man, I'm going to get in this vehicle. You feel the leather steering wheel, how nice it is. Oh my gosh, the steering, the vehicle dynamics are very sensitive, like it's in a race car or something like that. But when you get into chip conveyors or machine tool protection, which is what I sell, a little more tricky to weave in these stories within it, right? Something I learned, and I think this was Maxwell Maltz, which is somewhere behind me. He talks about making a decision and then going forward with that decision. And that is something that I have been doing pretty diligently recently. I'll give you a perfect example. I was going to speak at my church. I had to decide, am I going to speak at the church? I said yes. Okay. Well, there's no more contemplating, am I going to do it or am I not going to do it? I made the decision. I'm going to speak, so I will continue to move forward with that decision. I started doing that with everything. And now some things are a little difficult. Obviously, we're humans. We're going to go back. We're going to fall back into what's comfortable. But when you start making those decisions, you start responding quicker to certain scenarios or situations where people will ask you about certain things. So with that being said, 4 things, right? Lead with sincerity, serve before you try to sell, tell stories that help people connect, and then 4, decide whether or not you're going to go all in and then actually move forward with that. And these 4 will probably change in my own life because like everything, it's always evolving. Sales is constantly changing. People will say, this is how I've sold forever. Well, that's not how things work. Everything's going to change. So 2 years from now, I may sell completely different. However, I would probably add that sincerity is going to remain within that forever because that's just how people should be, is sincere. Well, anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully everyone has a great week. God bless.